What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining us on Robert Garcia Unfiltered. We are doing our end of the year episode. We wanted to get your guys's thoughts in the comments below about all the different topics that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the end of the year awards. We're going to be going weight class through weight class, naming the current world champs at each weight class, naming fights that we want to see the most in 2022. Who made a big impact in each weight class, maybe some of the young prospects in the weight class to look out for next year. And we want to make sure you guys comment below what your guys' picks are for both topics that we're doing, the end of the year awards, and who you guys think next year will be at the top of each weight class, and the fights you guys are looking forward to the most in 2022. We had a better year this year in terms of getting fans back into the fights. Towards the end of the year, now we're getting back into some more COVID protocols. I don't know about other states, but here in California, they're getting strict again with wearing masks, and you're hearing a lot more about positive tests. Hope.
I think colleges are going to start doing it online again, so schools might get back to doing everything at home. It might be.
We hope you guys are staying safe through these holidays and staying healthy, and make sure you guys aren't with other people if you guys have any kind of symptoms or whatever, because it's been 2 years or close to 2 years already, and March is going to be 2 years, but it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. So just make sure everybody stays safe. But again, we'll start with the end of the year awards. Or which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the weight class stuff? And then
it doesn't matter.
Okay, so like I said, we wanted to get through all the weight classes in boxing right now to see kind of the landscape of each weight class, possible matchups for next year, matchups that we're going to talk about each other, mine and yours, our favorite, our the fight we're looking forward to the most in each weight class, and who we think is going to be the best fighter out of each weight class next year. And again, we will be doing the end of the year awards at the end of the show. So we'll start with the 108-pound division, junior flyweight. We were going to start at 105, but I don't really know too much about the 105 pounders. I don't know about you guys. 108, we have the WBO champ, Jonathan La Bomba, I believe, Gonzalez, who beat Pulga Soto on the co-main event to Mikey. Oh, no, I think Mark Castro was the co-main event, but they were on the undercard of Mikey versus Sandor Martin. IBF champ, Felix Alvarado, WBA, Hiroto Kiyoguchi, WBC, Kenshiro Teraji, and WBA regular, Esteban Bermudez. No notable guys in the weight class were former world champ who, like I said, just lost his title, Pulga Soto, and obviously our own fighter, Bam Rodriguez. From those guys that I just mentioned, who do you think next year will be the best fighter in that division, and one fight that you want to see?
The 4 champions, you say?
Yeah. No. From all the guys I mentioned, including Pulga and including Bam, because those are the notable guys you can say in that division. There's other good fighters. There's a lot of young undefeated fighters. That kid from Argentina, what's his last name? I know who you're talking about. He's a good fighter. Es muy bueno ese cabrón. Yeah, Argentino. There's a lot of guys, but these are the guys that I would say here in the United States have been getting the most attention. They've been getting the most attention. They're with the zone. They're on Matchroom. They're on TV. So these are the guys getting the most attention. So from all those guys, name one fight you would like to see, and who do you think is the best fighter out of that division at the end of next year?
Well, as of right now, I think the IBF champion, the one from
Alvarado.
He's Nicaragua, right?
Sí, Nicaragua.
I think he's probably the toughest one. He's gonna be the toughest one to beat, and I think he gives all 3 other champions or 4 champions problems, because he's just one of those guys that is gonna take a punch and is gonna keep coming, always in shape. He's hungry to be better and better. So I think he's the guy that gives everybody problems. Do I think he can get beat? Yeah, maybe. A good boxer, a good smart fighter, very talented fighter with really good power could stop him and slow him down. But he will give problems to anybody. So as of right now, I think the IBF champion, ¿cómo se llama?
Felix Alvarado.
Felix Alvarado. His brother was also a world champion. Yeah, I think he's probably the toughest one. But who do I think is by the end of the year is going to be the best one in that division? Honestly, and not just because he's our fighter, but I think Bam. I think Jesse, his talent is unbelievable. I think people are already starting to notice that. He fought on Mikey's card last October, I think it was, and he showed what he's all about. That same night, Pulga Soto lost his title to Jonathan Gonzalez, and it was kind of an upset. So Pulga was mentioned as probably the best, but he wasn't able to cut the ring the right way or do what he had to do, and lost his title. So I think by the end of this coming new year, I think Bam will be the man in that division. He could still hold that weight for a few more fights. I think if we get this title opportunity early this coming year, he could defend it a couple times and then move up to 112.
Now with the 112 division, the flyweight division, you have the WBO champ who we saw fight for top rank in Arizona on the undercard of Oscar Valdez and Coin Secao. Junto Nakatani, he's the WBO champ. The IBF champ is Sonny Edwards. He just came off of a unanimous decision win in the UK somewhere. I don't know, somewhere in Europe. The WBA champ Artem Dalkian. Honestly, I can tell you I've never seen him fight, but I've heard the name before. WBC is Julio Cesar Rey Martinez. Also in the division, notable guys in the division, Ricardo Sandoval from Riverside, California. He's the #1 guy to fight for the IBF champ. You have Angel Acosta, who was the champ at 108 pounds, moved up and lost to Junto Nakatani in a good fight. And then you have McWilliams Arroyo, who was in a controversial kind of decision with Rey Martinez. From those guys, who do you think is the best in the division? Who will be the best in the division next year? And one fight that you can make out of all those guys?
I think right now, as of now, from what we've seen on TV and fighting a little, well, I can't say more often because he's canceled a few fights because of injuries or because of weight problems. Julio Cesar Martinez, but he's the most popular one. He's very charismatic. People love him. He's fun to watch. So I would say him. He's the
top of
the most popular one. Probably I can't say. I'm not going to say the best one because
who do you think is the best? Who do you think is the best?
The best one is that Japanese kid that has fought once in Arizona, and he fought on the Top Rank card. He's with Mr. Honda. I think he's the best 112 pounder. He's dedicated from what I've seen. He's focused on being great, and I think he will be the best 112 pounder by the end of next year. He's one of those guys that has one thing in mind. What's his name? Martinez, as we've seen,
he has the popularity behind him.
But he's canceled a few fights. He's had weight problems. He
might be moving up to 115 soon.
He might move up to 150 soon, but he's the one that he's had a few issues. Maybe becoming so famous after just one fight that he had, and people starting to follow him and starting to ask for his fights and want to see him fight. Maybe that got to him a little. Maybe got a little where he became a little too confident, and that's why he hasn't made weight. Maybe that's why he's canceled a few fights. But as of right now, I think he's the most popular one I want to talk, and the one that we all want to see. We enjoy watching his fight, but the best one has to be the Japanese, and I think that would be the fight to watch. Both of those guys, I think it would be a war, but I think the Japanese kid beats him.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think the best 112 pounder is Junto Nakatani, and that would be the best fight out of all of them. Like in terms of action, styles.
Exactly, that would be a great fight. I don't, a lot of people still don't. So we've seen him once, and I was actually there watching his fight, and we're like, wow, man, this fucking fight. Yeah. Then I talked to Rudy Hernandez. Rudy told me a lot about him. Told me how dedicated he is, and
the most dedicated fighter he's ever worked with.
He's ever worked there, and he said, I've never said it before, but because Genaro Hernandez, his brother, rest in peace, Chicanito, he was very dedicated. He says this guy is more dedicated than my brother. So that tells you a lot. He's hungry. He wants to be great. So I think that one's at the end of the year is going to be the best 112 pounder in that division.
Then we move up to the super flyweight division, one of the more popular divisions in terms of names. It has a lot of, it's gotten a lot of exposure lately, and well deserved, because the fighters in that division, at least two of them should be in people's, I don't know about top 10 right now, but Chocolatito, I believe, should be somewhere up there. Gallo Estrada should be in the top 20s. Both guys should be in the top 20s.
They mentioned him on the top 10 a lot.
Yeah, I thought Chocolatito beat him, so I think Chocolatito should be
so too. But it was very close also. It wasn't like it was a robbery. It was a very close fight.
Won like 8 rounds.
Yeah.
So super flyweight, 115 pounds. We have the WBO champ, Kazuto Ioka, who actually just won this morning. Well, it's morning over here. He fought in Japan, I believe, won a unanimous decision in Japan to keep his title, WBO champ. IBF is Jerwin Ancajas, who we really don't see too much of. He was with Top Rank, didn't fight the best opposition. Now he went to PBC. He's with Sean Gibbons and them, and kind of been under the radar. Hasn't really made a big splash when he came out here. Then the WBA and WBC champ, Gallo Estrada. WBA regular champ is our fighter, Joshua Franco. But also in the division, like I mentioned earlier, we have Chocolatito, Srisake Sorang Visai, Carlos Cuadras, Andrew Maloney, Tanaka, who had a good fight with Ioka. Ioka stopped him. But out of those guys, who do you think is by the end of next year will be the top guy at 115 pounds?
Well, it's a very, very good division, and it's one of those divisions that that's going to have great competition throughout the year. And at the end of the year, I think it's going to be about who wants it the most, who trains the hardest, and who puts their heart and mind and everything into being the best. Because Chocolatito and Gallo, they've been through a couple of fights that have been great fights, very close. The Ancajas is great. The Japanese kid is also great. They're all in the same level. Joshua Franco, our fighter. It's kind of, I don't want to sound too biased because he's our fighter. That's why I don't want to sound, I don't want to be like that. But they're all very focused and talented. I think it's in this division, it's going to be who really wants it the most. Does a young fighter like Franco, who sees Chocolatito, who's already up there in age and wars and beatings, training camps. Gallo Estrada has been through a lot of fights already, a lot of wars. Also very talented. So that has already taken a little bit from them. By the end of they're going to have one more war in March, from what I see. So that's going to take a little bit. That's going to take a little bit more from their bodies. Plus, their age is not. I'm not saying they're old, but they are taking beatings, and they are older than these other young ones. So it's on who wants it the most. And like we were talking about the 112-pounder Japanese, he's focused and ready 24/7 throughout the year. It doesn't matter if he's up here, but if you got a young fighter who is very talented but is weighing 140, 150 to cut down to 115 every time he fights, then we should count him out, because that's not going to help him. You have to be dedicated. Chocolatito seems like he's one of those guys that gains a lot of weight. Every training camp he has, we see him wearing those sauna suits. And I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But it, from what it seems like, and we've seen his face coming into he looks pretty fat, big. So he can't hold that or do that for so long, because his body, his age, the beatings in the gym, cutting weight hurts a fighter. So at 115, I think it's whoever wants it the most. And as of right now, I know that guys from Japan, they're very dedicated. All of them, man. I've never seen or I've never heard of a Japanese that's not dedicated, that's not focused to be in the gym and don't have that much of a weight problem. I never heard of a Japanese that's not dedicated. That's always messing around with weight, with their health. That's the way I see it. So those guys are very dedicated. But I still see maybe Cuadras beating Chocolatito this third time. I don't know.
Gallo.
Okay, yeah, my bad. Gallo beating Chocolatito, because he's a little bit fresher, I would probably
But
say.
they fought the first time they fought. Gallo Estrada's 31 years old right now. The first time they fought, it was in 2012. Since then, they've been that fight itself was a war. Since then, they've been through wars. We're going into 2022. 10 years ago was their first fight. 10 years ago. Gallo Estrada is like we said, 31 years old, but him and Chocolatito have been through so many wars in those lower weight classes that they're, like you said, they're a little long in the tooth. They're the older kind of.
Yes.
Gallo Estrada is an older 31. His body is more beat up, more tough fights. And like you said, they're going to go into a third one. So I think like you have the older group of guys with those two, with Cuadras, Rung Visay, but then you got not just Joshua Franco, who's a younger guy. You got the guys from 112. This guy Junto Nakatani could possibly go to 115. You got Rey Martinez could go to 115 and cause a lot of problems for these older guys, because these guys are young. They're going through their tough fights too, but they're really young. They're hungry. It's a little, you have the like the established group of great fighters, because Chocolatito's an all-time great. Gallo Estrada's going to be an all-time great, but then you got the young guys coming right behind them.
Yeah, that's why I think right now in this division is the division where those young ones like Franco, okay, or any of these other ones. I don't want to just mention Franco, but he's my fighter, so I want to bring up his name. Franco is the one that needs to see that, know that, and we got to tell him that. We have been telling that it's the moment this year to take advantage of it. Let these guys
beat each other up.
Let them beat this shit for 12 rounds again. Let them beat the shit. And he's a mandatory. From what I understand, the WBA, the winner has to fight him. So if they go through another war and Franco's focused and takes advantage of it, that's the opportunity of a lifetime to put him into that division where, God damn, this fucking little dude, Franco, beat Chocolatito or beat Gallo Estrada. Well, yes, you can. He can. And any of the other guys. I'm not just saying Franco. Any of these other guys too. They could unify against, but they could take advantage of this, because that's the champion to beat. Whoever wins, Gallo or Chocolatito, that's the guy to beat to become a superstar. So these guys have to have that in mind. This is my opportunity. I have to be ready for this shit. I can't this year has to be my year. Franco or the other ones. This is my fucking year. I have to be ready, because this guy, that's the fight that we need to win. And it's very winnable. I think any of those younger ones, the division
that's up in the air.
Huh?
It's a division that's up in the air. Like
yes.
there's a lot of good fighters in that.
Any of those guys could beat the winner and become a superstar and get those nice paydays and everything for a while. I think it's the right moment for all these younger ones, because the two top guys are beating the shit out of each other one more time, and that takes a lot out of their body, especially when they're already up in age and they've been doing it for so long. So I think by the end of the year, any of the younger ones, if we get that mandatory done, which should be done, Joshua Franco fights the winner of those fights. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy fight, but if Franco, if we prepare him the way I'm saying, the opportunity that comes to fight a superstar, but a superstar that boxing people know what they're going through, but a lot of people don't. Most of the boxing fans don't. So they see a younger fighter like a Franco beating a Chocolatito Estrada, like, holy shit, they couldn't believe it. It's something they couldn't believe. And when that happens, then Franco becomes a superstar. So being that he's my fighter, that's the one that I want. The Franco against the winner of Gallo and Chocolatito, and prepare him to like never before to become the big name at 115.
We move over to the Bantamweight division. Like we just said, 115 has a lot of good fighters, a lot of great fighters, Hall of Famers in that division. We go to 118 and the same thing, but you got two of them, I would say. You have the IBF and WBA champ in Naoya Inoue, and you got the WBC champ in Nonito Donaire. WBO is John Riel Casimero, but he missed weight his last fight, so I don't know if he's gonna stay at 118 and maybe move up to 122. But those are the two top dogs at 118. Casimero would have been a good fight for Inoue or Donaire, hard punching Filipino. But also in the division, you got Rigondeaux still not the most exciting fighter. You got Jason Maloney, but it's a division that is dominated by Inoue. He already beat Nonito. What do you think? Would you like to see the rematch between Nonito and Inoue, or do you think Inoue just he's the best? We know he's the best one at 118. Maybe he should move up in weight, or what do you think?
I think the rematch should happen. Nonito gave him a great fight when a lot of people thought he was going to get destroyed so easy. A lot of people thought, oh well, he made it in the tournament. Maybe because of luck, maybe because one guy pulled out and he got an opportunity to win that fight and make it to the finals.
His guy got hurt. His guy threw a right hand and he threw out his back.
That's what a lot of people could have been thinking. But from what we've been seeing, and when he just won the WBC title and now he defended it, he's focused and he's dedicated. So I think he'll give him the first fight was already great. I think a rematch would be even better. I'm not saying Nonito beats him, but he's got a great chance because Nonito is focused right now. He's getting this second opportunity at 39 and giving it all he's got. I think he's got a great chance of maybe even pulling it off. I'm not saying he will, but it will be a better fight. That division. Those guys are those that you just mentioned. They have to, maybe move up in weight. We're not, from 115 pounders, we were talking about the 112 pounders moving up to 115. I don't see the 115 pounders moving up to 118 to be able to dominate the division because Chocolatito or Gallo, I think they already hit their limit. I don't think they're guys that could compete or could beat Inoue or
they would not stand a chance with
at 118. I think that's their top. That's where their limit is, and if they do, maybe because they get an opportunity, if Nonito and move up in weight, then they get a vacant title. Then yes, they could probably they might be able to win a title there. But against the champions right now, it's going to be very difficult to have those 15 pounders moving up to 118.
That weight class, like we just said, dominated by one guy, Naoya Inoue. Nonito is also a champ, but Nonito already lost to Inoue in a competitive fight, but Inoue won.
A fight that I would like to see.
9 rounds to 3, 8 rounds.
I would like to see it this year.
122 is different. 122 has 2 champs, but it has at least 10 guys that you can mix in there, and you would get a great fight with either guy. It's a weight class that one of the best in boxing right now with 2 really, really good world champs. I think Stephen Fulton has the ability to become a pound for pound great fighter. He had a good win over Brandon Figueroa recently to end the year to unify the division. So like I said, you got Fulton with the WBO and WBC title and MJ Akhmadaliev with the IBF and WBA title. But in the division, you also have Brandon Figueroa, Asa Hovanesian, Pantera Neri, Ronnie Rios, Daniel Roman, Angelo Leo, Rasi Alim, and Carlos Castro, who is fighting Pantera Neri. That division is stacked. Like, from any one of those guys, you could throw them in there in a title fight. Every single one of them will give the 2 world champs a run for their money. If you ask me, I think Stephen Fulton is the best one in the division. I think second behind him, I thought Brandon Figueroa. I mean, not Brandon Figueroa. I thought Daniel Roman beat MJ the first time they fought. And I still believe Daniel Roman is the next right below Fulton. But like I said, any guy you throw in there into any kind of fight, MJ maybe fights Fulton, that's a great fight. You throw Ronnie Rios in there to fight MJ, great fight. You throw Figueroa in there to fight Brandon Figueroa, a rematch. You already saw the first one. Fulton was a great fight. Pantera Neri's fighting Carlos Castro. You have Rasi Alim, who's the mandatory. I think he's no, I don't know if he's mandatory, but he's a undefeated. We saw he was sitting next to us. That's a big ass 122 pounder, by the way. Rasi Alim, who could go in there and fight Fulton and give him a great fight. He stopped Pasillas earlier in the year. What do you think about that 122 weight class?
I think that's one of the divisions where there's so much talent and so many good fighters that it's also going to be on on who wants it the most, because Figueroa lost to Fulton, right?
Yep.
On a very close fight. It was close. The
That's
fight
cool.
was very close.
Pretty good
Some
fight.
people thought Figueroa won. I think Fulton won, but it was very close because it depending, on how the judges were scoring. Figueroa was just kept coming. Fulton landed the better shot, so that's why he got the decision. But and some judges, maybe the way they score, maybe they would have given it to Figueroa. That's why the fight was very close, and it was a great fight. But throughout the division, there's so much talent that I think it's on who wants it the most. We've seen Neri is also a great fighter, but he's lost. Why? Maybe because his dedication is, from what we've, I don't know him personally, but from what we've heard, what people have told us, that he could be a little, not disciplined when it comes to training. So that could cause him not being the best 122 pounder, because he could be the best 122 pounder because he's got power, he's got great skills. He could be the best 122, but he just doesn't focus 100% the way he should. He's focused more on outside events, things, friends, going out, doing stuff, getting recognized in Tijuana and being very popular. That's going to cause him a problem. I think
a great place to be popular in.
The what?
Tijuana's probably a great place to be popular in, huh?
Well, of course, but that's hurting him. That's hurt him. That has been hurting him. So that's the division. Roman, from what I understand, and I think he's very dedicated. So I think he's one of the best 122 pounders. Fulton is also great. I think him and Fulton would be that's the fight I would like to see.
That's the fight I would pick in that division.
Yeah, me too. I would love
Daniel
to see
Roman versus Stephen Fulton.
Because Daniel Roman is so dedicated. His skills are beautiful, man. His skills are beautiful. He's the one that you enjoy watching. You see little things from him that you enjoy watching his fights. And Fulton is the same way. I think that fight would be a great fight. I think that's a fight that I would like to see. Figueroa has a style that's going to be awkward and difficult, and might even be able to beat Fulton in a rematch, or he might even beat Roman, MJ, whichever one, because of his style. He just keeps going forward, not giving, taking a punch, and he'll take two or three to land 5 or 6. That's his style. So it's going to be it's difficult to beat him. Also, you can't beat him that easy. He's also one of those guys that's gonna give trouble to anybody. But style wise, and skills and all that talent, I would love to see Roman versus Fulton.
I think I would have 2 fights that I would like to see, because we were supposed to get Ronnie Rios already versus MJ. So I would like to see that. I want to see Ronnie get his chance. Ronnie comes to the gym.
Yeah, because MJ is one of those. MJ. I think MJ, Roman, and Fulton could be 3. They could fight each other, once a year, and it'll make a badass little tournament between them 3.
You have a like a group of just like guys that have been through like different. You got the young guy in Fulton right now, undefeated. MJ, he's like 9-0 barely. He's already a unified champ. Brandon Figueroa, young guy, just lost to world champ. Asa Hovhannisyan's been waiting for a chance at a world title fight. Pantera Neri has been a world champ. He's kind of maybe, like you said, maybe not as dedicated as he was. Ronnie Rios was one of these top prospects when he was coming up. Then he had a few setbacks, but now he's been on a good 3-4 win streak. Roman, one of the best in the division. Angelo Leo just lost his title. Raci Alim is young and undefeated. Carlos Castro, the same thing. You got a great mix of guys at 120.
It's a weird division, can't mention them all because there's just so many. But I think the ones that we said, like MJ, Roman, and Fulton are I would love to see those fight each other, and get one of those fights where the winner fights the other one, and then the loser fights the winner of the other one.
Yeah.
Little mix. I think we would have great fights because all 3 of them have great skills, and they have decent power. Some have more power than the others, so it's who's technique.
It's a mix of different styles, and it's great. It's great.
So, I think those 3 are my top favorite at 122, and I would love to see them fight each other.
At 126, you got the WBO champ Emmanuel Navarrete, the IBF champ Kiko Martinez just pulled off one of the upsets of the year. WBA champ Leo Santa Cruz. I don't know how he's still the WBA champ at 126 pounds.
Is he?
Still. Gary Russell, the WBC, another guy. I don't know how the hell he still has his title. He fights like once every year and a half. The WBA regular champ is Leigh Wood.
He's fighting January 22nd.
Yeah. Also in the division, you got Ray. You got a lot of young guys in the division. Ray Vargas, Isaac Dogbe, Mauricio Lara, who upset Josh Warrington. You have Josh Warrington, Kid Galahad, Venado Lopez, Zhu Khan, Joey Gonzalez. You got Adam Lopez. You got Michael Conlan. You got Dracula, Ruben Villa. You got another division that has a lot of good talent. One fight that out of that whole division you could make happen. Me personally, WBO champ Emmanuel Navarrete versus WBA champ Leo Santa Cruz.
That's the one you would like to see?
Yeah.
I don't think Leo is going to fight at 126. I think Leo stays at 130.
Leo's fighting. No, Leo's defending this title at 126 when he fights Keenan Carbajal.
Oh, it's going to be 126? Are you serious? Oh, shit.
If you let me pick a fight out of these guys, Navarrete and Leo Santa Cruz. That's my pick.
It would be a great fight. It would be a fucking war because they're both going to be exchanging against each other. You know, there's going to be a great fight. I think that would be a great fight. We will not see that fight, but it would be a great fight. I think another one that I would like to see would be, because right now, you know, Navarrete is even though, you know, I think Gary Russ was so much fucking talented, but he doesn't fight. So he hasn't fought in almost 2 years. So, you know, I think he's the most talented one in the division. But Navarrete is a guy, you know, that's pretty much putting a name at featherweight division right now. So I would like to see him against Gary Russell, because I think it will be. I think Navarrete will fucking do whatever it takes to land and to hurt. And I want to see Gary Russell react to that. But talent wise, I think Gary Russell is the best at that division. You know, he doesn't fight often. He fights once every year and a half, 2 years. You know, so should we even count him as a top featherweight? He is a champion. WBC still
doesn't fight enough. I think a lot of these guys have that problem. They just don't fight enough. I think the one fight we are gonna see, and tell me if I'm crazy about thinking about this right now that I'm looking at the list, is we're gonna see Venado Lopez fight Kiko Martinez. He's the mandatory for the IBF title. Venado's
gonna beat Kiko.
He's gonna beat Kiko Martinez, and we're gonna get Venado versus Navarrete.
Yeah, I think so.
Imagine how many hooks are gonna be thrown in that fucking fight.
Yeah, that fight. Yeah, because they're both
how many hooks and body shots and uppercuts, and that's gonna be a sick fight.
It's gonna be a great fight. It's gonna be a great fight because Venado just, you know, showed the world.
He's on a good roll right now.
Yeah, he's up there with to fight the best in the division, and him and Navarrete will be a fucking brutal fight.
We go to 130 pounds. The WBO champ, super featherweight, WBO world champ, Shakur Stevenson. I believe the by far the best in the division. You got IBF Kenshi Ogawa, WBA Roger Gutierrez, WBC Oscar Valdez, but also in the division you got Jamel Herring, Lamont Roach, Chris Colbert, and I couldn't pronounce the first name, Rakimov, who had a draw with Jojo Diaz at 130 pounds. Mm-hmm. I think everybody is in agreement that the best fight to make at 130 pounds and the fight that everybody wants to see, except for, I think, one team, is Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez. Everybody wants to see that fight, except for one team in particular. They don't want to see that.
And that's the fight that's easy to make. They both fight for top rank. They both fight for top rank. I think it's the easiest fight to make, but you know, I think Oscar Valdez is a superstar in Mexico. He had a great win against Berchet, great knockout of the year, if you ask me. But he's he's whatever it takes. You know, his management team, his training team, they're gonna avoid fighting Shakur. Shakur's too talented. I think Shakur is too talented. I think Shakur makes it into an easy fight. But Valdez, you know, it's a business too. You know, once you make it into becoming a world champion and already making those huge paydays, and you're still young, still fresh, you know, where you still have a few years left, then take advantage of it. Pick the right fights, you know, make your money, boxing is a fucking tough business, man. Boxing is very tough, and at the end, nobody remembers who you fought or who you
Yes,
didn't
we
fight.
do. What do you mean?
Yeah, but who gives a fuck when you're at
Oh,
100?
yeah. If you're looking at it as the
But if
boxer, if you're looking at it as the fighter, yes.
if I-
But fuck that. Fuck that.
if Valdez team, fuck it, we gotta fight him, man. That could, fights that could be your last fight when you could be doing it for another 3-4 more years, just picking up your
Yeah,
retirement,
I
your
think
securing your family, your kids. Then be smart about it. I would probably do the same, but yeah, it should happen.
I
It
don't.
should
But
happen.
I don't
They're
think
both world
Shakur is,
champions.
I don't think Shakur is the kind of guy you go in there thinking, shit, if I lose, that this guy might ruin my career, because
No,
Shakur's
because
not a
he's
big
gonna hurt
puncher.
you
He's
that
not
much.
one of those. He's not gonna hurt him. Shakur just could outclass him. I believe Shakur wins. I think Oscar gives him a really good fight. I think Oscar showed a lot in that Berchelt fight, but I would still pick Shakur to win the decision. But it's not one of those fights that you go into it like, holy shit, like when Triple G was Triple G, like, oh my God, I can't fight this guy. This guy might ruin my career. No, I think it's a little bit different. So I think it should happen. I think it will happen. I think right now, like you said, Oscar Valdez and then might take something else beforehand to get that one more and then get.
That's a fight that I think we should see, and I would like to see
I think we do.
at the end of this year, maybe end of the year. Maybe they're both gonna fight, something else. But maybe Top Rank does do the fight, because why not? Why wouldn't they? It's a huge fight for the promotion, for the fighters too.
That's the fight to make at 130. That's it.
And you just made a point. Like, it's not like he's gonna be, it's like a career-ending fight. Honestly, it's true. It's true. So you have a point there. So why not do it?
I think going into it, people were more afraid of Valdez going into fight Berchelt. That guy was one guy you were like, holy shit, this guy could ruin Oscar Valdez's career, because Valdez has had his jaw broken. He's been through wars. He's been through some fucking wars. And Berchelt was the one guy that you were like, holy shit, this guy could knock Oscar Valdez. I thought he was gonna knock him out. And Valdez went in there. So I think he does fight Shakur. We move up to 135. WBO, IBF, WBA, and WBC franchise world champ George Kambosos, WBC regular Devin Haney, and WBA regular Gervonta Davis. But also in the division, you got Pitbull Cruz, Lomachenko, Jojo Diaz, Ryan Garcia, and William El Camarón Cepeda. One fight that you could make out of that whole division, and how do you see it playing out for next year?
In that division, it's probably one of the hottest divisions and one of the most talked about divisions, because you got some very, very popular fighters, and in boxing, some of the best pound for pound fighters in the world, and outside of boxing, some of the most popular ones too. That not the regular fan knows, and they still know them.
Ryan, Devin.
Exactly. There's so many. They're very popular. I think it's probably the most stacked division. I think Loma, skills wise, I think Loma is probably the best out of the whole division. But Tank has great power. Ryan has great power that, one punch could end a fight so easy. Ryan has been doing that, one punch ends fights, and sometimes you could be losing and you land that one punch. If you got power, you got that chance in the last minute of the fight to knock your opponent out because of the power. So that's great to have. I think Tank has it, and I think somebody like Ryan also has it. So they always have that chance. But I think talent-wise, I think it's Loma, the one with the most talent. I think right now Cambosos becoming the undisputed champion, beating Teofimo the way he did, made him a superstar, and it was a fucking badass fight. It was a war. It was one of those fights that everybody was watching because there was so much talk going into the fight, and then the fight turned out to be a great fight where they both dropped each other. Everybody was expecting something from Teofimo that we didn't see. Things didn't go right. They didn't know how to fix it during the rounds. So there's a lot of questions, but I think I would love to see one of these guys, a guy like Camarón get an opportunity. I think he's one of those guys that needs to get an opportunity either against Ryan Garcia, which could be easily made because they both fight for the same promotion. he could fight somebody like Jojo Diaz. I think Cameron needs that one fight, the one big name to show what he's all about. You know, he's been dominating and he's been beating the guys in the lower level, but I want to see him compete against those guys. I think he does good, but there's also the chance that he might not. You know, they might be too good for him. So I would like to see Cameron. I want to see what Cameron has in that and against the top
the
top 135 pounders. But you know, he's not a world champion and he's not one that's been talked about. I want to see. I would like to see somebody like the skills of a Loma against the skills of a Devin Haney. You know, I don't think it would be a fight full of action, but it would be a fight where you have to be smart. You have to fight the great fight to win. One of them is tall, uses his reach very well. The other one is you know, has very good head movement, footwork. So that would be a fight that it would interest me to watch. You know, not because of the action that we're gonna see, like fighting Pitbull versus Cameron. Or
different kind of action. What I was gonna ask you is, okay, I mentioned 8 guys in that division. I think the perfect matchups is within those guys. I think the best fight to make, if you ask me, the best. Obviously, I think Ryan Garcia in any pay-per-view fight against like Tank would probably sell the most. But I think the best 2 fighters in the division who would make the best fight is Lomachenko versus Tank. I think that would be the best fight. I think Devin Haney deserves a shot at Kambosos because he's the WBC champ. So we want to see who's the undisputed champ. So we get those 2 guys fighting. I think Ryan needs a big name to come back with a big name, but somebody that isn't so dangerous to him. And I think him versus Jojo Diaz here in Southern California at the Staples Center would be huge. And the all action kind of fight in William Cepeda against Pitbull Cruz. I think each guy has another person that makes perfect sense for them. I think those eight guys right there could mix it like I, in a perfect world. Like if that's the way I would line them up. You get the all action fight in Cepeda and Pitbull Cruz. You get Ryan Garcia, Jojo, 2 Southern California guys going at it at Staples Center. You got Tank and
not Staples Center anymore.
Crypto.com Arena.
Crypto.
You got Tank Davis versus Lomachenko, and you got Kambosos versus Devin Haney. I think that's the way to do it at 135 pounds. I think that should be everybody's next fight. I should be a matchmaker. Then we go to 140. Again, undisputed champ. One guy has all the belts. Josh Taylor, but in the division has a lot of good fighters right below him. He beat Jose. He beat Regis Prograis, but those guys, Jose, Regis Prograis, Chon Cepeda, Arnold Barbosa, Jose Pedraza, and Subriel Matias. There's a lot more guys at 140 pounds, but those are the guys. One fight that you would like to see. I know I already know what it is, but
I would like to see, you know, Jose, our fighter Jose, going in against Taylor again on a rematch. I don't know if that's going to happen. You know, Jose's got a very important fight against Pedraza, and it's a dangerous fight. It's not an easy fight. Pedraza's been looking really good in his last few fights. He's at 140. He's been looking unbeatable. You know, he's a great fucking fighter. So it's not going to be easy. But you know, yeah, that, you know, I know Taylor's a great fighter, man. He came out. He did a great game plan. He had a good plan, you know, to frustrate him and do the tactics that he did. You know, sometimes they were a little dirty, whatever it is. He fought smart and he won. But the fight was still very close. It was 6 rounds to 6. Even though we had even with those 2 knockdowns, the judges still scored it 6 rounds to 6. So it was a great fight. So do I think we deserve a rematch? I don't think it was a fight where Taylor dominated, where nobody even wants to see a rematch. But I don't see anybody even mentioning it. I would like to see it, but maybe they don't mention it because they also see Josh Taylor moving up to welterweight.
I think
that's probably why.
I think he does.
He moves up to welterweight. Well, there's nothing we could do unless we move up to welterweight in the future, which we might with Jose. You know, he's been at 140 for so many years, but you know, that's not decided yet. You know, we're still fighting at 140. So I would love to get that opportunity again. Nothing against Josh Taylor or his team. They did a great game plan. You know, we got to respect them. We got to congratulate them for what they did. But I definitely would like the rematch.
I think Josh Taylor moves up in weight to welterweight after this next fight that he has. I think he probably feels he did what he had to do. If anything, he stays for his defense against Chon, because Chon has promised the title fight. If anything, he stays and then he goes up to welterweight. I think he's doing this 140-pound fight just to basically go home and to get his title defense in front of his hometown crowd, and stay, just to defend his belts. But I think he moves up to welterweight. Now welterweight, you got the WBO champ Errol Spence, WBO champ Terence Crawford, IBF and WBC Errol Spence, and WBA Yordenis Ugas. Looks like we are getting Errol Spence versus Ugas, so that kind of leaves Crawford kind of there. But the WBA regular champ is Butayev, who just beat Jamal James. But in the division, you got a lot of young guys too. You got Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Ennis, Stanionis, who I think is going to be, I think he took step aside money to allow them to fight. Abel Ramos, David Avenetian, Igis Mean Machine, Kavaliauskas, Connor Ben, Jamal James. You got Rashidi Ellis. You got guys like Alexis Rocha. I mentioned Abel Ramos. He's fighting Josecito Lopez. You got Maurice Hooker, Mario Barrios. You still got Keith Thurman. It's a division with a lot of guys, a lot of different names. I think everybody is in agreement that the two top guys right now that you would want to see fight is Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. But because Errol took the fight with Ugas, Butayev took step aside money. That means he's going to fight whoever wins that fight, or he's going to fight Stanionis took step aside money. I believe he's going to fight Butayev now, and the winner is going to fight the winner of that. But then Errol's going to have a mandatory for the IBF, because the IBF is coming up too, and that's going to be Jaron Ennis. I don't think we're going to see Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence next year. I think with Errol picking Ugas, they just delayed it another year. I don't think we're not going to see it till 2023. So if you ask me, the fight that I would pick to see is Jaron Ennis versus Virgil Ortiz, because I know both guys would fucking love to fight each other. And those guys they're not going to take. Errol Spence won his title, I want to say like 5 years ago, and he's barely going for his third belt in the division. Canelo unified a whole division in less than a year. Errol Spence I don't think he wants to fight Terence Crawford. I don't think he is going to fight Terence Crawford. And it's been too much of this back and forth. And no, because of this, because of that, because of this. No, I'm going to fight this guy instead. I'm going to fight this guy. We know those are the two best guys, and they should fight each other. But
Terence Crawford's already
Ennis versus Ortiz.
From what we know, Terence Crawford's contract ended with Top Rank. So if Terence Crawford really wants it, then he goes to PBC and tells them to make that fight and does a deal without Heyman. And they make that fight.
But how do you make the fight happen if the other guy doesn't want it to happen? I don't think Errol Spence wants it to happen.
I think that's already going on. I think Terence Crawford is already, behind. Nobody knows, but I'm pretty sure he's already looking at that direction. I guarantee you they've been talking to PBC, to Al Heyman, and if that doesn't happen, it's probably because Errol Spence didn't want it. Maybe Errol Spence is asking for too much money. Maybe, I don't know, whatever it is.
He doesn't want to fight.
I think that's a division, Pita, where there's so much fighters and so much talent that you don't have to be a world champion to also be one of the best in the division and to be considered as a world champion, because the champions are so good, and the champions are going to be, there's only going to be two champions. There's only going to be two champions. One of them was going to have three, and the other one just had, but the one that only has one, I think he's the best at that division. But he's so good that all the younger ones that you mentioned, all the good prospects, all the good experienced fighters, they don't need to fight for the title to have great big fights at 147. Virgil could fight Ennis on a great fight. It doesn't have to be for a title. It could be for a silver, for a fucking diamond, for a fucking
mandatory.
Whatever the fuck
mandatory, like all of Al Heyman's fights.
You know what I mean? It could be a title eliminator, just like every fucking single Al Heyman fight. Title eliminator. There's so many big fights out there, that could be done without having to fight the champions, because the champions are so good and they're busy doing other things. So
flipping cars over.
Out of all those guys, maybe we'll see half of them, maybe more than half, that will never win a title. They will never win a title, but they will have great fights. They will be remembered as great because the champions were just too good. And also, it's also smart not to hold the young fighters and not going straight into one of those fights, because it could be dangerous.
I think by the end of the year we see Virgil versus Crawford. By the end of the year, I think before
hopefully.
that, I think Crawford, like I said, he's gonna be left out of the Errol Spence fight. Because Errol Spence is gonna do this one, then he has to do WBA mandatory, then he probably has to do an IBF mandatory. We're gonna get Jaron Ennis versus the maybe the lower level kind of guys, not the top guys yet. But I think at the end of the year we're gonna see Virgil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford. That's just
well, we won't get, like you said. I would like to see Crawford versus Spence this coming year. I would love to see it. That's a fight that everybody wants to see. It would do great numbers. People would love to watch that fight, but more likely we won't. So Virgil against any of the champions, I would also love to see.
Crawford. I think
more likely we won't. Ennis versus any of the champions, we would love to see, but more likely we won't. But more likely we won't. Not this year, maybe.
Yep.
So
the fight is 154. I think he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Ugas and beat him. He's gonna fight the winner of Staniones and Butaev and beat him, and then he's gonna say he's struggling to make 47. He's gonna move it to 154.
It's possible.
Yeah, he's not gonna fight Terence Crawford or Ennis or Virgil. Then we go to 154. You got Jermell Charlo, who has IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO champ Brian Castaño. I think the fight to make is the rematch. I think Castaño won the first one.
That's the fight that needs to happen. I thought Castaño pulled it off. It was close, but I thought Castaño pulled it off, and that's the rematch.
I think we are gonna get it. I think that one's pretty much set. Like that 54 division has a lot of good fighters. You got Fundora, Lubin, some of these guys coming up, but the fight is that one. That's the fight.
That's the fight, and that's the only names that there's no other, like, in reality.
Not great. Let's be real. That's not that good.
That's what I'm saying. So there's not great fights to mention or fighters to mention that could be there, could do this, could do that. I think that's the only fight that we could talk about. What else?
Yeah, that's it.
and will be undefeated.
Yeah. Then we move to 160. This one's all over the place because you got guys all over different promotions and shit. Nobody wants to fight each other. You got WBO champ Bubu Andrade, IBF Triple G, WBA Ryota Murata, who they were supposed to fight, but they're postponed, so they will fight. You got WBC Jermall Charlo, but then you also have Jaime Munguia, Caballo, Carlos Adames, Johnny Beck, and Falcao, who just won a mandatory. So you got a good mix of guys in that division. I think we're gonna get Bubu versus Johnny Beck now. But the thing is that now that Bubu got a good fight, I read online that he's saying that maybe he moves to 168 now. So we'll see what happens there. Bubu versus Johnny Beck is supposed to happen. Falcao's
Bubu has been waiting and wanting a big fight. If it's there now, why would he move up in weight? I think he should take it because I think his skills are great. That's why he hasn't. I think that's why he hasn't got that big opportunity because he's not very popular. So any fighter is going to risk a lot fighting him because he's awkward, he's difficult, and he might beat him. So nobody's going to take that chance against somebody that nobody really cares about. Because honestly, in boxing, people don't talk about him as one of the best because they just don't want to fight him. He's not very popular, but talent-wise, I think he's very difficult, and I think he could give Triple G all he could handle. I think he could do the same with Charlo. Same thing with
Bubu.
Yeah, but it just seems like nobody likes him. I don't know why. I think he's got great skills, but if he moves up in weight, then that's another thing that that's a decision that he's gonna make. Maybe he is struggling. I don't know.
I think the best fight to make is two fights, both fights that I think either one is the best fight to make. They're both just as good. Both of them involve Jaime Munguia. I think it's Munguia versus Triple G or Munguia versus Charlo.
I think those two are great also. I think Munguia
or Charlo Triple G. Those three. Anywhere with those three.
I think Munguia looked really good in his last fight. He's improved so much. I think Eric Morales is doing a great job with him. He's improved so much. Combinations that are very effective. His defense is improving. I think he's doing really good. So Eric Morales is doing a great job with Munguia. I think Munguia Triple G would be huge. Munguia versus Charlo would be huge. Will we see them? I don't know, but I would like to see those fights too. I think those are the fights. Those three guys fighting each other is the fights that we would like to see this year in that division.
Yeah, me too. Now we go to 168, but I'm gonna clump everything together because 168, 175, and 200. There's only one name that matters in those three divisions, and one person controls everything that happens. If this guy fights this guy, then this guy has to fight. Like everybody waits for Canelo from 168 to 200 pounds now. Canelo controls everything. At 168, obviously Canelo's undisputed king, but you got David Benavidez there. Then you go to 175, you got Joe Smith Jr., Beterbiev, Bivol. Beterbiev has the IBF and WBC, so he has 2 titles. You got Zurdo Ramirez in that division. Cruiserweight, Makabu, who's a WBC champ, he has a fight coming up that he has to do. That's who Canelo's supposed to be fighting. You have Bridis, Okoli, Arsen, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. All those guys will wait to see who Canelo picks to fight. All those guys are waiting and waiting. David Benavidez looks like he's going to fight David Lemieux, but that's not Lemieux hasn't been relevant in a while.
It's for a title.
The title eliminator.
No, it's for the WBC interim.
See, so it's basically eliminator to see who fights Canelo next, or to see if Canelo wants to fight them next. So I think those 3 divisions are held up by Canelo. And me personally, what I think Canelo's going to do is I think he's going to go to 175. I think he's going to try to become, because at 200 pounds he was going to fight Makabu, but I think Makabu has a eliminator. I don't think Canelo wants to wait around for anybody. Oh, you have to do this fight now. You fight when I tell you to fight. I think he's going to fight at 175 pounds, 175, and I think he's going to try to become the first fighter to ever become undisputed in 2 divisions. I think he's going to go fight he's going to go do maybe like a 2-fight deal with Top Rank where he fights Joe Smith Jr. and then he fights Beterbiev. And then Bivol fights whoever he fights in the meantime. Maybe he fights Zurdo and then for Matchroom, and then Canelo comes back to Matchroom and fights the winner of that. And then we get another undisputed title fight for Canelo. I think still right now, the 2 best fights for Canelo are Beterbiev and David Benavidez. And the one way for David to make the fight happen, we were talking about this yesterday, is for David to move up to 175 and challenge a Bivol or challenge, because David has a big name. David can make a big fight with any of these guys. David's a big name. He could move up to 175, and then when Canelo tries to make it, now he has to fight David at 175, and that's the one way to make it. Because I don't think Canelo has any. He doesn't want to go back to 168. What does he have to do at 168 anymore?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm gonna say. If David moves up to 175 to chase and to see if he gets that Canelo fight, because like you said, more likely Canelo is going to fight at 175. I think he will fight that cruiserweight. I think he will fight him and beat him in May, but then he comes down to 175 and he's going to try to stay at 175 and become undisputed at 175. That's my opinion. So if that's the way we think and that's the way it looks like it's going to happen, why wouldn't David move up to 175 and beat one of the champions there? And
he's already missed weight. He's already missed weight at 168.
You want to become undisputed? Well, here I am. I'm one of them. So you got to beat me too. That's the way he'll get the fight. But if he would do something like that and Canelo gets back down to 168 or something, then let me see. Want to fight Benavidez.
Who else does he have left to fight at 168?
Nobody
except David.
That would mean he doesn't want to fight Benavidez.
Exactly. So I think he will. I think he's gonna end up at 175. I think that's the next division. I think he's gonna become the first. He's gonna try to become the first ever 2-time undisputed.
Well, yeah, I think that. I think that's Benavidez' only shot of maybe getting Canelo, moving up to 175 and winning a title at 175, because you're not going to win any titles at 168 because Canelo has them already, and he's not going to give you a shot, especially when David is fighting David Lemieux. Canelo's going to say, you think he deserves a shot? No, he doesn't. If he beats Charlo or beats Plant or beats one of the light heavyweights, then maybe then okay, that's a fight that Canelo wants at 175. Then we'll do it, but not like this. Canelo won't give him that shot.
Yeah, I think that's the way to make it, and I think that's the way it goes. I wanted to see it at 168, but I wanted David to beat up David Plant first. I mean, Caleb Plant first, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I think Canelo controls everything in those divisions.
It's like a few years ago when Mayweather was
controlled. Mayweather people waited to see who Mayweather was gonna fight. Heavyweight, you got Usyk with the WBO, IBF, and WBA champ. He had one of the best performances, beating Anthony Joshua last year. And you have the WBC champ Tyson Fury, who I think was in the fight of the year with
Wilder,
with Deontay Wilder. But like I just mentioned, also in the division, you got Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, Dillian White, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora, Joe Joyce, Andy Ruiz, Frank Sanchez, Luis Ortiz. You got a pay-per-view fight tomorrow. I don't know why the hell it's pay-per-view, but PBC's putting on a pay-per-view fight tomorrow with Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin, I believe, in the main event. One guy you think by the end of the year is because I think we're going to get an undisputed champ by the end of next year. I think somehow
so?
people are going to win certain fights and they make the undisputed for the end of the year next year. And who do you think ends up becoming the undisputed champ at heavyweight? And the one, because you could mix them up however, even if you make like a Tyson Fury versus Andy Ruiz, that's a really good fight to make. Two guys coming off of losses, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, would be a great fight. But if you got to pick one fight for the undisputed crown at heavyweight, who would you like to see fight?
I think the biggest fight would be Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury.
I think the same thing.
That shit would probably be better than Thriller and Manila or all those fucking big fights. I think that shit would be huge. You know, I don't know, you know, how things will happen, honestly, because different promoters, whatever. But
last year, nobody would have picked Usyk to be champ right now. You know what I mean? Like
nobody, exactly. And look at him now. He's a fucking champion with three belts. You know, and he's one that could say he's up there, you know, to be talked about against Fury. Also, they're talking about it. You know, so you know it's a division that's stacked with talent. You know, it's actually great because for like 30 years. Nobody gave a fuck about the heavyweights. Nobody really cared about heavyweight division, but now it's back, and that helps boxing a lot. That helps the heavyweights. Is just been the division where everybody always talks about. You know, even non-boxing fans know who the champions are and watch the fights. So I think the heavyweight division being back the way it is, it's definitely helping boxing a lot. But I think Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua would be the biggest fight.
I still think that's the biggest fight to make.
Still the biggest fight, but Anthony Joshua needs to beat Usyk in the rematch. Not easy, but can he? I think he could if he fights the right fight. If he fights the right fight and has the right mentality, right game plan, and doesn't let Usyk's awkward style frustrate him. He has to go in there with one mentality only to not
dominate.
Not care, not worry about anything. It's going to be awkward, but you're going to go out there to do your job. I think he could beat him. I've said it many times. I think skills-wise, he's probably the best heavyweight because he's got great skills. You know, Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight. But as you see, he's a little wild.
Party animal.
He throws wild punches. His footwork is not. You know, he's just heavy and strong and uses his weight to tire out his opponents. He
could box too, but I know I get what you're saying. The more technical,
he could box, but I'm saying skills.
The most technical is Anthony Joshua.
Technical punches. I think Anthony Joshua is the best. But
I think that's the best.
That's not all you need to become great. You also need the right mentality. You know, you have to be mean inside the ring if you need to. You have to change your game plan if you have to. You have to fight dirty if you have to. You have to know how to do all that. And being too technical doesn't always win fights. You have to also be that mean person, the fighter that doesn't care if maybe he gets a couple of warnings for not doing something that he's not supposed to know. That's the fighter that Anthony Joshua needs to be.
Yeah, either way, I think the heavyweight division is in great hands. I didn't mention, but Jared Anderson, probably prospect of the year. He's also in the heavyweight division, but I think he's probably still a year away from being in those top fights. It's in great hands. We're gonna get nothing but good fights, I think, next year in the heavyweight division. Any way you mix all those guys up, we're gonna get good fights. With that being said, we move on to the end of the year awards. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 awards that we'll be going down the list and picking our end of the year awards for different categories. We'll start with the performance of the year. One fight, one performance. You could say it couldn't have gone more perfect, the fight for them. Usyk beating Anthony Joshua. I think there's two. Usyk beating Anthony Joshua, and Kambosos beating Teofimo. I think those are the two best performances of the year where both guys were underdogs and they dominated the fight. They controlled most of the fight. There was moments where it was a good fight and there were some bad moments for each guy, but it probably couldn't have gone better for each guy. Even if their trainers wrote out a perfect fight for them, it couldn't have gone better. Who do you pick as the performance of the year?
And it's a tough one because they both had great performances. I think I just because of the type of fight that it was, the action-packed fight, I think I give it to Kambosos because of the heart that he showed, being in trouble, getting dropped, and still pulling it off. I give it to Kambosos. Even though Usyk fought a great fight and dominated pretty much the whole fight, there was a few rounds where Anthony Joshua landed, but there was never the fight where we could see it turning around. With Kambosos, we did. He got dropped, and when he got dropped, I'm like, fuck, this motherfucking Teofimo's gonna finish him. He's gonna fucking finish him, and he's gonna win. He's gonna come back from being dominating, from being dominated to winning, but he didn't. Kambosos still found a way to pull it off. So that's why I would probably say Kambosos. I think Kambosos deserves it. He fought his heart. He put his heart into that fight, and I give it to Kambosos.
From that, we go into upset of the year, and honestly, I have the same pick because upset of the year, you could go Sandor Martin beating Mikey. You can go Kiko Martinez beating Kid Galahad, and I put Kambosos beating Teofimo, and I think it's Kambosos also.
Upset of the year, I think nobody really cares, and nobody really. It's not, but I think it was more of an upset for Kiko to beat.
Really?
Well, yeah, upset.
Yes. No.
Kambosos is also undefeated. Kambosos is mandatory.
You're right.
So it's not like they brought in a fucking bum.
Yeah.
And beat Teofimo. Nobody thought he was going to beat Teofimo, but he was undefeated. He was number one in the world. And it was an upset. But for me, I think Kiko beating, I don't even know who he beat, but knowing that Kiko was, nobody gave him a chance. He goes and beats him. That's more of an upset. Even though the boxing world don't even know. I don't even know who he fought.
Yeah.
I don't even know who he fought. But that was more of an upset because nobody really gave him a chance with Kambosos.
Did go in as an opponent.
Yes, with Kambosos, nobody really gave him a chance either. But
he had credentials going into it,
and he was mandatory, and he had never been beat. So why can't you give him a chance? You know what I mean? I think Teofimo fought the wrong fight. I think Teofimo, I'm not gonna blame anything. I think his corner didn't help him at all. But Kiko was more of an upset. My opinion.
Then we go prospect of the year. We got Jared Anderson with Top Rank. Xander Sayas, also Top Rank. You got Brandon Lee, fights for Showtime. I think I don't know who. Is he still with Cameron Duncan?
I think so, yeah.
And we picked one from PBC, Jose Rayo Valenzuela. You could pick one guy out of those. What I look at in a prospect, because we could say maybe Bam.
Name them again.
Jared Anderson, Big Baby.
Yeah.
Xander Sayas, Brandon Lee, and Rayo Valenzuela, Jose Rayo Valenzuela. I think prospect, the way to describe a prospect is that next year, these guys are going to be contenders next year. Not champs. I think like Virgil Ortiz, Joran Ennis, Bam. There's a lot of guys coming up that next year they could win a world title next year. These guys, I don't think they could win a world title next year, but the year after that is when they start competing for the world title. So I think that's the perfect. The only one that I still question that I don't think next year they're gonna push him that much yet is Xander Sayas. I think he's still a year away because he's so young. The other three, I believe Jared Anderson, Brandon Lee, and Rayo next year will start fighting contenders. And then the year afterwards, they could maybe get a title fight. And I believe Brandon Lee is the prospect of the year.
It's a very, very hard pick because they were all pretty busy last year.
Yeah, they all fought.
they were all pretty busy. You can't pick a prospect of the year if you only fought once. Prospects are, that's why they're prospects, because they're
They're
busy.
fighting often.
And Aya's fought so many times. Rayo fought quite a few times, and Rayo's actually fucking looking better and better, man. Rayo
Brandon Lee has
has
nothing but cold knockouts at 140 pounds. Nothing but he's putting people to sleep.
cool.
Brandon Lee.
Exactly, that's what I mean. I'm going, and Brandon Lee is also
Korean and
one
Mexican as gangster.
that stayed busy. Cameron kept him busy and doing what he's doing, knocking them out cold. The heavyweight is also one that we could also, but I rather pick like you said, I would love to see Rayo, get those opportunities too, because he's
I think he just hasn't had a promotional push like the other guys.
they're pushing him.
Yeah, but not the same. You don't hear about Rayo as much as the other guys. I just think Top Rank is just better at it. Let's just be real. They're better than PBC at pumping their guys up and giving them more exposure.
They're youngsters.
Yeah, they're better at it than the PBC. That's the only thing that's missing with Rayo. But I think Rayo.
But we're picking Brandon Lee, who's not Top Rank.
No, he's with Showtime. He's with Showtime,
Yeah.
but he's getting a good push because he's on a bunch of co-main events on big cards or Showtime now.
And he started off on Showbox, which that helped him a lot, and now he's the co-main events. So yeah, I would probably say Brandon Lee, because he's already Showtime and co-main events and all that, and the way he's dominating the knockouts that he's getting, it has to be Brandon Lee.
Then we go to trainer of the year. I think it's pretty much like pretty simple this year because of what Canelo was able to do. Oscar Valdez had 2 good wins. Ryan Garcia had 1 win. Andy Ruiz is the one that didn't have a good performance. He fought Chris Arreola
but he won.
And kind of struggled. But then the other heavyweight, Frank Sanchez, had a really good win. So I think Eddie Reynoso is a clear-cut trainer of the year. But just honorable mention, Ben Davidson had Josh Taylor beating Jose Ramirez. He had Devin Haney also. He helps train Devin Haney. And then Javier Centeno.
Yeah, he also had a few other champions.
Became WBA champion in the UK.
Yeah.
But then we go to Javier Centeno, who doesn't get the props he deserves. But you said it last year, the trainer of the year, I believe, was Teofimo Lopez's dad. He has one fighter who fought once last year, and he beat Lomachenko.
Yep.
Javier Centeno has Cambosos, who just beat Teofimo. But he also has Xander Sayas, who is one of the top prospects in boxing. So he deserves some credit too. You have other guys.
Lomachenko's dad also won it
with one fighter.
With one fighter.
Exactly. So one year, Andre Ward's trainer won it. And all he did was train Andre Ward. Eddie Reynoso has a group of guys. It has like 6 guys who are all winning. So I think Eddie Reynoso is the winner. But
this is one of the cases where you Centeno would have got it, in my opinion, if Eddie wasn't there.
Yeah.
If Eddie wasn't there, it would have been Centeno because of the win that he had, and he also has Sayas, who's improving and looking better and better. I also think Ben Davis, doing what he did, becoming undisputed, that's huge too. Peter, we can't leave that out because he did a great job. He also made another champion.
That's why those are the 2 guys I mentioned as honorable mentions.
Yeah, so they it's just one of those cases where we've talked about it with the Oscars. Oh shit, he didn't get an Oscar for best actor. Well, guess what? Because the other one was just better.
Yeah, so we talked about that with Mikey, where I forgot who it was. Like it was Leonardo DiCaprio. Where you're like, oh shit, Leonardo DiCaprio has only won one like Oscar for The Revenant. But then you look back and you're like, well, what about when he was like in
What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Yeah, or something like that. And then you look and that year Forrest Gump came out and they gave it to like, oh shit, like okay. Then another year you're like, why didn't he win it for this movie? Whatever. And then oh shit, this movie. Okay, you understand. So Javier Centeno and Ben Davidson would have Trainer of the Year nomination if it wasn't for this year that Eddie Reynoso had.
Exactly.
It was just a big year for
Eddie just had a great year, and I think Eddie's gonna continue having great years in the next 2 or 3 years because he's got a great stable. I think Canelo himself is fighting often enough, to just make him win those awards because a lot of fighters. Shane Mosley's dad won it also one year because of Shane Mosley. Tito Trinidad was a great trainer. Tito Trinidad's dad, but only with one fighter. So we've seen it happen many times. So why can't Camboso's trainer win it, especially after that win, or Ben Davis after that win to become undisputed? The only reason is because Eddie Reynoso is just much better and doing much better. Has had better wins.
Like you said, Canelo is Canelo. I think next year he's still gonna stay undefeated. I don't think he's gonna lose, to anybody coming anytime soon. I think the where we're gonna see a good year, a good test for Reynoso, is this coming year, because you have like his heavyweights, Frank Sanchez, Andy Ruiz, who are gonna take big step ups for sure. One of them might get like Andy Ruiz might get a Deontay Wilder fight. He might get a Tyson Fury fight. So we'll see how he does there. Frank Sanchez is going to get maybe a title, maybe one of these European eliminators. One of these guys, Dylan White, or something like that. You got Ryan Garcia, who's going to come back. We're hearing maybe he's not gonna. The fights are going to get tougher for him. He might have to fight, like I said, a Jojo, a Camaron, a Devin Haney. One of these guys. You got Oscar Valdez, who might be fighting Shakur Stevenson. So the year this coming up, I don't think I'm missing anybody that Reynoso trains. Well, we'll see if he ends up training Virgil Ortiz. But you got this group of guys that he has. This next year is going to be a really good year for him, a really busy year, but with really, really competitive fights. So it's going to be it's going to be a tough year, but it's going to be a good like test to.
I think this year is one of those years where he's going to show how good he is.
Yeah,
and he just with Valdez, the way the game plan, the way they fought Berchel,
we're gonna have to do something like that again.
He's gonna do that with all of his fighters, because he does.
All the fighters are gonna need that kind of game plan and stuff for next year, because it's gonna be a tough year. Then you go into fighter of the year. I think the same thing as everybody. It's clear that you got other guys that probably had one. If you pick everybody's best win, I think Josh Taylor beating Jose was probably better than Canelo's. Was probably a more even fight going into it than Canelo's, because Canelo was a huge favorite in all three of his fights. I think Usyk beating Joshua was one fight that was a better win. I think Crawford beating Porter and stopping him the way he did was a better win. But Canelo fought 3 times and he was the undisputed champ. I think Canelo wins on beating 2 good world champs, and then Yildirim or whatever his name was in Miami earlier in the year. That one you could just watch. That was just a stay busy fight. But he had 2 good wins against good world champs, solid world champs. But I think Josh Taylor had one better win, and I think Crawford had a better win, and I think Usyk had a better win. But Canelo on just the fact that he fought 3 times, because Crawford fought one, Usyk fought once, Fury fought one, and I put Fury in there for beating Deontay Wilder, and then Josh Taylor only fought once. So you get like those guys. Like I said, I believe their one win was more impressive. Canelo also stopped his opponents, but I think they were lower level opponents than let's say a Sean Porter, a Jose Ramirez, a Anthony Joshua.
I agree with it, but it has to go to Canelo, because he just fought more often and he became undisputed. And even though his fights were not as dangerous or not as competitive, but he did stay busy. He fought often, and there's you can't give it to somebody else. But it's same thing again. Where if it wasn't Canelo, then who would you pick besides from the other guys? It would be tough, because Usyk had a great win, won 3 titles.
Josh Taylor.
Crawford had a great one. Taylor became undisputed. Cambosos beat Teofimo. I would probably say Josh Taylor becoming undisputed on a very close fight, a very tough fight. I think Josh Taylor would have probably got it in my
He just had a year where he was busy and he fought 3 times. He became a I will pick Canelo. That does it for the award. Oh no, did we say knockout of the year?
No,
shit, I skipped knockout of the year. Fighter of the year was supposed to be last. Knockout of the year, we have, I think, 2 nominations. You and everybody else at the gym kept complaining that I should have added Jake Paul versus fucking Tyron Woodley. But like I said, there's a lot of guys that fight in 6-round fights, 8-round fights that have great knockouts, but we don't put them in the knockout of the year.
Yeah, but it was a big fight. It was pay-per-view.
No. It doesn't matter. It's a fight where one guy, it's his 2nd pro fight, and one guy is like his 5th pro fight. That doesn't go for fight knockout of the year. knockout of the year. F.A. Ajagba had he put somebody to sleep earlier in the year. I forgot that guy's name. And there was an 8-round fight. You got a lot of guys that fight in 6 and 8-round fights that have great knockouts. Brandon Lee has nothing but cold knockouts. He puts everybody to sleep, but we don't nominate him for knockout of the year.
No, I know, I understand, because the knockout of the year to me has to be actually a competitive fight, a fight where it's even though
going into it
was headlining, but a fight that's pretty close, that's good, and you still get a knockout of the year.
And top level boxing, 2 top guys. I think Beck the Bully versus Gabe Rosado knocking him out was one of those big ones. Beck the Bully was one of these top prospects going into the fight. Rosado knocked him out. And then you get Oscar Valdez versus Berchel, which is my pick. I think it's Oscar Valdez.
I picked Oscar Valdez versus Berchel 100%. I think that was I think that's the one that gets it. I don't know if it's getting it anywhere else, but it should get it.
That one deserves it. So that does it, guys, for this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We had a lot to talk about. We went for was it like over an hour or close to an hour?
Probably.
We hope you guys enjoy it. It's gonna be we won't be posting videos. There's not fights coming up. There's a fight coming up on Saturday, but it's not that big of a fight. The 2 heavyweights. The first video we'll probably post is when's Gary Russell Jr. fighting?
The 22nd, I think.
January 22nd. So around that time when we'll be posting more videos. We want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in this year. We're at I think like 18,000 subscribers now. Just a big thank you to all you guys that have been tuning in. We hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys have a happy and safe holidays, happy New Year's and stuff. And we'll see you guys next year.